Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Kevin Forrester and this is Tutor Kev Lessons. In this particular chapter I would like to be discussing quadratics, and if you haven't seen my first video on the quadratic section, please take a look on that side of the screen. Hopefully you'll see a little notification pop up. So what I did in my last lessons, we started looking at the idea of quadratics, and what I would like to take a look at today is algebraic fractions. Right, so this is a section that some of my students tend to struggle with, and it's actually a lot easier than you think. So let's dive in. Right, so what are algebraic fractions? Let's discuss it. So algebraic fractions are just like your normal fractions, except there are algebraic variables within the fraction. So think of x's, y's, all of that sort of stuff. But where it filters into quadratics is when you're manipulating your algebraic fraction, it ends up becoming a quadratic when you're trying to solve the equation. So let's take a look at some examples of this. Right, so my first example is x minus 6 over x minus 5 equals to 0. So this algebraic fraction, we can see it's a fraction because we got an algebraic fraction term. We need to try and get rid of fractions. Myself, I tell my students all the time, not a fan of fractions, just because they give a lot of extra complexity that isn't needed when you're trying to solve equations. So what we can do, and a nice simple trick that we can do, and we learn about it in Cambridge, is that we basically multiply every single term by all the denominators that are present. So this is a simple example because we only have one denominator. So we're going to multiply every term by this denominator. So let's go through it. So we're going to get x times by x minus 5 minus 6 times by x minus 5 all over x minus 5. Don't forget to include the denominator that you've got here, and that equals to 0. Right, so now that we've got all of our terms multiplied by x minus 5, I could even write it this 0 times by x minus 5, but I think we all know that anything times by 0 is 0. Right, so we know that this term is going to become 0. And the beauty about multiplying by the denominators is it allows us to cancel out the denominator for this term, right? Because anything divided by itself becomes 1, and so it disappears. And so when we're busy expanding this, we get this, x squared minus 5x. So what I did here is I multiplied into my bracket the x from the outside into both the terms. And now all I need to do is finish off the equation. Equals to 0. Now in my last video I said, how do we solve quadratics? We put it into the quadratic form. It has to equal to 0. Once you got that, then you can factorize. And once you factorize, you can then solve for x. So we've got to take a look here. We have 6. What are the factors of 6? 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And I know that 2 and 3 will give me 5. However, because we got a minus 6, one of my factors must be positive and the other must be negative. And so I actually need to use this factor pair using a negative 6 and a plus 1, because that gives me negative 5. Right, and then from this we end up getting two solutions, x equal to minus 1 or x equal to 6. And that is the solution to this problem. Let's take a look at a more complicated scenario, one where we have multiple denominators. So here I've got the question 5 over x plus 3 plus 3x over x plus 4, and that all equals to 2. So here we follow the same rule again. Remember, step 1, multiply each term by all the denominators. Okay, and once you've done that, simplify. And then step 3, solve your equation. Right, so let's do that. What are my denominators? I see I've got this x plus 3 denominator and I've got this x plus 4 denominator. So I'm going to multiply every single term by x plus 3 and x plus 4, right? As a two binomial brackets multiplied together. So it's going to look something like this. So I'm going to have 5, x plus 3, x plus 4, and that is going to be over x plus 3, plus 3x times by x plus 3, x plus 4, and that's going to be all over x plus 4. Just going to move this out the way. And that is going to equal to 2 times by x plus 3, x plus 4. Right, now that I've done this step, I've multiplied by the denominators. We now need to simplify and then expand whatever we have left over. So do you agree that we got this x plus 3 and this x plus 3? Those are going to cancel. This x plus 4 and that x plus 4 are going to cancel. And now we're just left with single binomial brackets in these first two terms and a pair of binomial brackets on the other side of the equation line. So let's expand and simplify. So here I'm going to get 5x plus 20 plus 3x squared plus 9x. And that must equal to, now what I generally do in these scenarios, I first multiply out my binomial brackets using FOIL. So FOIL these guys out. And for those of you who don't know what FOIL is, it's the first terms multiplied, then the outer terms multiplied, then the inner two terms multiplied, and then the last two terms multiplied. And then once I've done that, then I multiply by the 2. So let's do that. So the first terms, x and x gives me an x squared. The outer terms, x times 4 gives me 4x. And then I've got 3 times x gives me plus 3x. And then last terms, I've got 3 and 4, which gives me 12. Close bracket. Right, so now that we've got that, all we need to do is simplify the left-hand side, simplify the right, multiply by the 2, and then to solve a quadratic, we need to make it equal to 0. So let's do that. 3x squared, 5x plus 9x is 14x, plus 20, and that is equal to 2 times by x squared plus 7x plus 12. And then from here, we multiply the 2, take everything over. So we've got 2x squared plus 14x plus 24, and then I'm going to take it all over now. So it's going to be 3x squared plus 14x plus 20 minus 2x squared minus 14x minus 24 equals to 0. And now we simplify this one. So it's going to give me x squared, because 3x squared minus 2x squared gives me x squared. 14x minus 14x will leave me with no x term. And then I've got 20 minus 24, which is going to give me minus 4, and that equals to 0. Now that I've got that, all we need to do is solve for x. So we take the 4 over, so it becomes positive. And then to get rid of a square, so to get rid of the x squared, we square root both sides. And so we'll get the answer for x. But remember, this is pretty important. When you square root, okay, you'll always get a positive and a negative root. Positive and a negative root. Okay, so that means we actually get two answers here. We get plus or minus 2, because that's what the square root of 4 is. 2 times 2 is 4, and minus 2 times minus 2 is also equal to 4. Right, so I hope you found this mini lesson pretty helpful. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. If you really liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, leave a thumbs down in the comments as to how I could have improved or anything that you would like in future. And if you would like to subscribe to Forrester Tutoring, that would be absolutely fantastic. Cheers.